Om. Sairam everyone. We have been talking about the 9 ways of devotion, 9 paths of devotion. We have covered the first few, and I think we are at Archanam and Vandanam. We discussed last week. We can proceed further. I will ask Sister Kalyani to start reading, please. Sairam, Sister Kalyani.
Maitri, friendship. The great exemplar of this kind of devotion is Arjuna. Arjuna and Krishna lived together closely. Arjuna accompanied Krishna like a shadow. He experienced innumerable troubles and was subjected to calumny and abuse. But through all these experiences, he did not allow his faith in Krishna to waver. He always prayed, "Krishna, you are my sole hope and refuge. There is none other to protect me." In this way, looking upon Krishna as friend, kinsman, and alter ego, Arjuna relied on Krishna for everything, ready
This
to
conference
act
will
as
now be
Arjuna's
recorded.
charioteer in battle. Arjuna made Krishna the charioteer of his life. Krishna thereby acquired the appellation Parthasarathi, the charioteer of Partha, Arjuna.
Okay, Sairam everyone. So now we are in the 8th one, which is Maitri or Sakya Bhakti, for which Arjuna is the example. I think all of you know about Arjuna's friendship with Krishna. So I think we can, I will open it up for everyone to discuss, because this is considered to be the final stage before one can go to the stage of complete surrender. And Swami says that this is a very important one for all devotees to cultivate, this feeling of friendship with the Lord. So I will open it up for anyone to comment on what you all think of this way of devotion, path of devotion, and based on whatever Swami has said, you can discuss what comes in your mind. How do we treat Swami as our friend? Saira. Anyone, please. If no one is saying, I will start speaking, but please interject or interrupt and say what you would like to say. See, in this path of devotion of a friend, the devotee feels that they are more or less on par with the Lord, in the sense they don't have any fear, they don't have any anything which holds them back in praying to the Lord, talking to Him, and sharing their innermost thoughts with the Lord. And that gives a certain amount of closeness with the Lord. And that's what Arjuna practiced. And some places Swami has said, don't go before me because I may not follow you. Don't follow me because you may not be able to follow, because you may miss the path. Always walk along with me. So that is walking alongside with the Lord. This path of devotion, path of friendship with the Lord. And that's what Arjuna practiced. Because of that, he was chosen by Sri Krishna even to be the recipient of his Bhagavad Gita. That is the advantage which Arjuna had with that kind of a devotion. I will. Anyone who has any thoughts, any words, or how we can practice maybe with Swami this path of devotion, of friendship.
Are you able to share with us what made Arjuna qualified to be his friend? I mean, seems like all 5 Pandavas had their own strengths. The other 4 could have easily been his friend. But why would Lord Krishna choose Arjuna, please? Thank you.
I will ask others to share whatever they have in their mind or whatever they know, so that way, if I will at the end, I can sort of complement whatever they have said. Sahiram, everyone. Anyone who would like to talk about why Arjuna? I'm sure all of you have read something or other, studied or learned of Arjuna's devotion and why Krishna chose him. Sahiram.
Sai Ram, this is Sushil.
Sahiram.
Sorry, Sai Ram. I believe it could be surrender, regardless of the fruits of our actions. To surrender. I mean, I believe that is what Arjuna did. Arjuna considered Krishna his friend, but also he surrendered to him and he let him speak and do everything for him, and that's why they were successful. And they did everything accordingly, and I believe that's why they were successful. So it's the important criteria is surrender. That's what I believe. No matter whether it works out favorably or unfavorably.
Okay, thank you very much, sister. I think someone else wanted to say something. Please go ahead.
Sairam, this is Arjuna had a lot of problems those days that when they are on that Anyada Vasa, that discussion time, and also that any other time when he has time, bad time, and all the time he always with Krishna. He never forget Krishna. Any good time or bad time, he's always with Krishna. Krishna also always helped Arjuna at that Swayamvara time that Draupadi was married. No, that time Krishna was advising Arjuna that when he is describing that about that competition and how to win that competition and everything. No? That he was telling the Krishna that you see that there is a Makshanda, that the pool of water there, that you have to aim that spot up there and everything. He explains that. And he's always not thinking about Krishna is a god. No, he's like friend all the time. He's thinking, and he was explaining about that all the competition regulation. And when Arjuna asked Krishna that question, that if you are telling that I am to aim that I have to look down the water and aim that eye of the fish and everything, no? Then I am doing everything. What are you going to do for me? He asked. At the time was Krishna saying that I am doing the very big thing because you never think about it. Because I am going to see the water still there, no, not moving. Make it still, the water. That nobody can think about that. No, if the boat is moving, then everything's gone. No, that Swami there, Krishna was doing that, stilling the water. No, then he can see the water in that what is on the up there. No, he can aim that point. That's the way God is helping. God is always helping us. We don't know that God is helping or not. No, but always God is helping us. And several times Krishna was helping that Arjuna that the wartime he was that chariot, you know, there's a chariot for the chariot. At the time that I was reading that when Arjuna and Krishna are in the chariot, there's no talk. No, they are not talking and commanding. No, they are. When Arjuna was sitting in the front, Krishna is Krishna is sitting in front. Arjuna is standing. No, they can conversation and they can conversation. Only that leg using that they make the direction to turn left or right on the God seek that touch that left side, turn left side by the leg. No, he's touching the Krishna's seek, turn right or left. So that the Lord was agree with that. No, and also that several things I can tell that how that friendship was. They are very friendly. That's I don't know that more than that I can say that. I have more say that for that friendship. It might took more time. If you like, I can say that too. Can I say more? If I have time to take, can I take time for that, please?
No, I think we will go through the others also, brother, and then
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to point something out. There's a very popular, I think, message which goes around in WhatsApp groups and things like that, saying that Krishna and Arjuna had a conversation before the Swayamvara, which is actually somebody's wild imagination. Because Krishna did not meet the Pandavas until they took Draupadi and went back. That was the first meeting of Krishna with the Pandavas. It was after Arjuna won the Swayamvara, and they all went back to the hut in which they were living in the Brahmin's house. And that is when Krishna went and met the Pandavas for the first time, and he introduced himself to them. But then what happens is, people just imagine something. Maybe the thought is very nice, but sometimes they mix up the facts, and I think we should try not to rely on what comes on WhatsApp and what's on the internet in some of these cases, even though the thought is very nice. If anyone wants to read about Krishna and Arjuna and their relationship, I think Bhagavata Vahini is a good source. That's what I would say. I just wanted to point out. I think thought is very nice, but there are people who just imagine something and then write something up, and next thing you know, it has gone around the world, and that has become the fact.
Also, I was sorry. I am reading that long ago with Mahabharata.
Yes, I understand. It's okay. I just wanted to clarify the inaccuracy. That's all. Okay, thank you very much. I think we will go around. Anyone else who would like to say something, please?
Sairam, when I read this one, for Sister Bhavani's question, this is my thought, and maybe it could be right, or it could be a different opinion. In order to be a good friendship, maybe they both have to be open to the other, the good time or bad time or fun time. They should be able to tell anything, everything to openly to the other person. So Arjuna and Krishna, they were very open, the good times, bad times, fun time, and everything according to the Puranic story. And also when I look at all these, the 9 paths of devotion, the Achanam, the Namasmaranam, Vandanam, Servanam, as Brother Aruna said, this is very close relationship. In order to attain with the Brahman or the final stage, you have to be really close. Good or bad or without any hesitation, you have to openly tell what's in your mind. Whether it's good or bad, or even you are angry, you must be able to tell the other person, go away, don't come near to me. You have to have that sort of very closeness, even if it is, any kind of emotion, you have to openly, you would be able to tell the other person. Maybe Arjuna and Krishna, they have had that sort of relationship, rather than the other, maybe the eldest one, Dharma, he's very very shantam, and the other four, they didn't have that sort of open relationship with Krishna. Only Arjuna, he maintained that sort of relationship. That's why maybe the Lord Krishna has chosen him as his best friend, and that's my humble opinion on this one. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, sister. Anyone else would like to say something, please?
I remember, but you could correct me. That Baba explained the meaning of Arjuna is purity and white, pure. Purity, Yasmin flower like, something like that.
Yes, brother.
Yeah.
You're right.
So he is very 100% pure. So purity means godliness. Purity means godliness. So Krishna is God, or he is purity personified. So they can match together. Something like that. That's I just wanted to tell you. I don't know much about that. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you so much, Sairam. Anyone else, please?
Sir, I just want to mention about make a brief mention of the Bhagavad Gita, because before the Kurukshetra war began in the Mahabharata, we had, of course, Arjuna was feeling worried that of what was going to, because some of the relatives of their families, like Bhishma, Dronacharya, and the others were having to fight against them in the war, and Arjuna was worried, and then Krishna decides to enlighten Arjuna with teachings which became part of the Bhagavad Gita, and of course Krishna, of course, being Parthasarathi, being the chariot of Arjuna, Krishna decided to enlighten Arjuna with those teachings, and of course then Krishna gave Arjuna the supreme form, the darshan of the supreme form, which and Arjuna became God's inner strength, and was able to then be able to wage the war.
Okay, thank you, brothers. Thank you. Anyone else would like to say something, please?
Sairam, I want to tell you something.
Yes, brother.
What I knew is about a story about Narayana. That's even in the previous incarnations, Krishna and Arjuna were there, like Rama and Lakshmana. And I was listening to one of those sessions at Sri Sai Centres. They were talking about a Tahsildar. One of those devotees was spending the money, the tax money, to build a temple, and then the Tahsildar's wife was not quite happy about it and was asking them the money back or something like that. And then Rama, in the form of Rama and Lakshmana, they both went to Tahsildar's house and paid the money. Something like that. I heard a story like that. So this is a sort of a play by the divine, like in the form of like a Krishna or Rama, whatever it is. Then Arjuna is accompanied there. Arjuna in the form of Arjuna or the Lakshmana, they come in the form like that. Maybe that's Narayana. Nara is like a human, and the Narayanan is the Lord. So that's they come together in even I don't know. That's what I know something about this one. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you, brother. Sairam. Anyone else would like to say something, please?
I would say that everything is based on faith. As the other lady said, friendship. Friendship also is all built on faith. Both the parties have to be equally thinking, like-minded, and both have to be sort of having their own characters put together. So that's why Arjuna depended solely on Krishna. And he had a blind faith, and that's what applies to Satya Sai Baba as well. That is the faith. If the faith is there, everything goes right. This is just my little comment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sister. Anyone else, please?
Sai
Yes, Sister Vasudha, please go ahead.
Sai Ram, I just wanted to give an example of friendship to the Lord. It's not necessarily with Arjuna. The story that I remember from childhood is about Sudama. Sudama, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sister, please go ahead.
So Sudama was a childhood friend of Lord Krishna, and he was from a poor family, and he continued to. The legend goes that he was poor even when Krishna was older, and one time it was Lord Krishna's birthday. And at the birthday, lots of kings and lots of people came with special gifts and offerings to Lord Krishna. And Sudama wanted to also take something for his friend. And all he had was, it's called pounded rice, the flat rice, poha.
Yes.
That's all he had in his house. So he put a little bit of that. They didn't have Ziploc bags then, but he also didn't have any container to take that. The story goes that he actually tied a few dry pounded rice in the corner of his own the part of the clothing that they wear on the top part of the body. And he took it like that, and when he went to the palace, the guards actually didn't even let him in because he didn't come in a fancy chariot and any of that. He was waiting outside. I don't know the full details, but what I heard is, as Lord Krishna heard that there's somebody who's been stopped outside the gates, who claims to be an old childhood friend of him. And the guards told him, this person is claiming to be your friend. And then Lord Krishna went running and he welcomed his friend in, and he ate that dry, bland, pounded rice with so much love. And he said, this is my childhood friend, and this is my friend's offering to me, and that is everything that he had in his house. So this is more valuable to me than all the other gifts that I have got. So that's just one thing my mother used to tell us, that it's not, she would tell us in the context of birthday gifts to our friends. She would say it doesn't have to be very expensive or special or unique. If you're a good friend, your friend will automatically value everything you give them. And I think in the broader sense, Swami will value anything you offer as part of your friendship if it's genuine and coming from your heart. Sai Ram.
Thank you very much, sister. Someone else was about to say something, please. Someone on the phone, actually, I think. So I guess no one is speaking. So I will just say a few words about what I think Sister Bhavani's question. Yes, it is true. See, from Krishna and Arjuna were friends for about 75 years. They were more friends than even Arjuna was not even a devotee at that time. He was just a friend. He used to call him Bhava, as Swami says in Telugu, which is basically brother-in-law. That was the way a close friend is called. So that's the way he always addressed Krishna. Arjuna treated him like just a normal human friend, but he was a very close friend because any thoughts which he had deep in his heart, he was always sharing. Like even when he wanted to get married to Krishna's sister, it was Krishna who helped him in spite of the family's opposition. And it's that sort of friendship they had. Whereas the other Pandavas had a slightly distant relationship. They saw Krishna as a bit more of a divine person and a friend who will always help them out as an advisor and so on. But there was some distance. Like Dharmaraja was, for example, in the war, when Krishna gave him an idea to make a statement in front of Drona that the elephant Ashwatthama is dead, Dharmaraja didn't want him, a bit reluctant. So you can see sometimes the individual factor comes in the way of even the total surrender, which I think Sister Vasanthi has already mentioned. That type of surrender Dharmaraja didn't have because there was some distance, and also he felt, he was a bit independent. Whereas Arjuna was completely dependent on Krishna. He was just a friend, and he just liked to have him for moral support. So that's why he asked him, "You come and just be with me during the war." So it's that kind of relationship Arjuna had, and it turned into a discipleship, a true bhakta at the war front. And before that, I think slowly he's developed faith in Krishna as a divine being. But the real surrender came just before the war when he lost everything. And then he basically, Krishna, I'm just surrendering to you. Whatever you tell, I will listen. And it's at that point, Krishna is telling, you are my bhakta, you are my sakha, and so on. There's in the chapter 4 of Gita, there's a verse which talks about it. But Swami very beautifully talks about in the Gita Vahini. These are the words which Swami says. I will say it in English. In Telugu is much more beautiful and sweet. But Swami says, Baba, my brother-in-law, you are my supreme devotee. Not only that, you are my prana mitra is the word Swami uses. Basically, who is a friend, a life friend. That's, I don't know what, it cannot be translated in English. You can say true friend. A prana mitra means you are as good as my life. And then he says, there are no friends like you for me other than you. And that I found was very, very sweet. He says, there's absolutely no one else who is a friend like you for me. And because of that, I'm teaching you this Bhagavad Gita. It's what Krishna is telling apparently, and that's how Swami has said it. And I think this question of why other Pandavas were not as close, there are other reasons also. Maybe it's a slight digression, but I think I'll tell because it shows, it sort of contrasts who Arjuna is. Because Swami says, actually he says Swami Bhishma was Krishna, Bhishma is there, he's our Lord, our head of our family, he's a great person. Why not him? And then he says, why not Dharmaraja? He's the eldest in the family, oldest brother. Then he says, Bhima is also older than me. All of them are devoted to you. They all look up to you as a divine being. And they will listen to anything which you say. Why didn't you choose them? Why did you choose me? It was a question apparently Arjuna asked. These are words of Swami. And then Swami says, Bhishma's problem was, yes, no one can be as determined in following Dharma as Bhishma. And he knew Dharma inside out. And he had made so many sacrifices in his life. So he was very selfless, worked for everyone, faced many challenges in his lives, but he was always Shanta. He's the example of Shanta Bhava. He was not perturbed by anything in life. That kind of a devotion he had. Why did he choose him? And for that, Krishna says, yes, Bhishma knows Dharma very well and everything, so good. But there are some factors which made him illegible for my choice as a person who will listen to Gita. the main reason was, even though he knew the Kauravas were on the side of the wrong side, and Pandavas are more righteous, even though he wished that the Pandavas will win, he still decided to fight on the side of the Kauravas. Swami says there's a lack of what you think and what you act, your actions and word and thought are not aligned. And it's also like riding two horses, as Swami says. So because of that, Bhishma was not chosen. The second was Dharmaraja. Dharmaraja always had a problem because he doesn't think ahead of his actions. He just acts. It's not that he does bad things, but whenever he acts, he doesn't think clearly. And he regrets later that he had done it. Like the way he went for the gambling invitation. He took up the invitation of gambling from the Kauravas. And later on, he regretted. And he even gave away all his brothers and wife and so on. And later he regretted. So that is Dharmaraja's problem. So Swami says a good devotee should also think ahead. So even the thing is, even to be God to say that you're a good friend, you have to have certain qualities that he expects. No one wants a person, they say a fool it's better to have a crook than a fool as a friend. Even the fool is even a good person, that kind of thing. So Dharmaraja made certain mistakes, and God doesn't want somebody like that as a friend, because he wants them to be much a better caliber and apply all their faculties properly. That was the problem with Dharmaraja. Though he was a sweet person, maybe he is a bit more softer than Arjuna himself. Whereas Bhima was a great devotee also, no doubt. And he will do anything which Krishna asked. But the problem was Bhima doesn't use his head too much. He is quick to anger and so on. And that's what was highlighted by Krishna apparently. And that's what Swami says. So even if we say that we are God's friends, ultimately God has to say that you are my friend. And I think that is the final stamp of approval. Without that, whatever we say, when many people say, God is my friend, they can put, your status message or whatever, or profile, wherever. It does not necessarily make us a friend of God until and unless God tells that you are my friend. And there's a long way to go for that, I guess. And Bhagavad Gita is full of qualities. There are 26 qualities somebody has to cultivate to fit that title. Yes, what Swami says. Okay, Sai Ram, I'm sorry I took too much time. So that is Krishna. So the thing is, we have to become that close and open with the Lord for the Lord to accept us. And Arjuna did it well. And I think we can also strive to be that. Sai Ram. If there are any questions or comments, please go ahead. If not, we will proceed.
I would like to add something there. Swami once said that a friend will convey everything to the friend only. And so Arjuna basically was, whatever thought came to his mind, he conveyed that to Krishna, and he believed that Krishna knew whatever was in his mind. Whereas other brothers, basically of Pandavas, basically they thought what will be like by Krishna. So they always question. The thought comes to their mind, but things they question, and then only convey to Krishna only what will be like. So they assumed certain things. Whereas Arjuna was basically what you thought was right or wrong, good or bad, it doesn't matter. Krishna knows everything. So he was basically talking everything and asking from God, Krishna, everything what he wanted. So Swami says, just before the surrender, that Saranagati level, is the friendship is the highest form of relationship with God, because the reason is Saranagati means basically you're accepting everything what God gives, but just before that is a friendship where you can ask, go and ask parents to give something as a gift for their birthday, but I think you think whether your parents will like it or not. But with a friend, it's not that way. So it's a true friend is basically you do everything openly with them. That's the reason Swami said the friendship is just before the surrender, and also Arjuna basically relied on Krishna for everything. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, Sairam. If there's no other comments, we'll go to the next one. Sairam, Sister Kalyan, you could maybe go to the next one.
Atmanivedanam, or Atmarpanam, surrender of the self. Emperor Bali, the grandson of Prahlada, was an example of a devotee who completely surrendered to the Lord, offered everything he possessed to the Lord, and thereby sanctified his life. He was totally dedicated in his devotion to the Lord. He was prepared to offer his head to the Lord and go down to the netherworld. No sacrifice was too great for him to win the Lord's grace. When his guru, Sukracharya, advised him to go back on the gift he had promised to Vamana, Bali rejected the advice, declaring that his life, his body, and all that he had belonged to the Lord.
Okay, thank you very much, Sister. So Swami, in every time Swami talks about this final state, he always brings up Mahabali, and every Onam discourse, where Keralites come to Puttaparthi, Swami has spoken about this repeatedly, so many times, year after year. And generally, during the Onam discussion, this topic is definitely touched by Swami, which is complete surrender of a person to God. So one can even ask, was he a friend before he surrendered? I guess in his heart of heart he was, being the grandson of Prahlada. I think if everyone would know the story, so I'm not going to go into the story. So we'll open it up for anyone to comment.
Sairam brother, can you please briefly tell the story, please?
Okay, sister. So the story goes that Prahlada's son was Virochana. I think everyone knows Prahlada. Prahlada was Hiranyakashipu's son, and to kill his father, Narasimha avatar was taken by Lord Vishnu, the man-lion avatar. Then his grandson, Prahlada's grandson, was Mahabali. He was called Mahabali. I think he's called Bali because he offered himself as Bali to the Lord. I don't think we even know his name. At least I don't know. So he is known as Bali, and even that's the greatest sacrifice. That's his name. And so he was a just king. His guru was Sukracharya. Sukracharya is considered to be the guru of all the asuras. He's just like Brahaspati is the guru of the Devas. Sukracharya was the guru of the asuras. So the Mahabali wanted to perform this yajna where he was giving away everything, anything anyone asked. It's a Vishwajit Yaga. So the one who performs becomes the king of the entire universe. That is Vishwajit. You command the power of the entire world. So Shukracharya was helping him, perform that. So, but no, the Devas didn't want an Ashura to become the universal king. So, of course, they beseeched Sri Narayana. And Narayana said, okay, I will take matters into my hands. And he was born as Vamana, a dwarf incarnation of Vishnu. As a little kid, he goes to the place where Mahabali was performing his yajna. So Sukracharya was standing by, he was watching over who is coming, asking for what and so on. And as he saw Vamana come forward, he realized there's trouble coming, because he could see the divine splendor in that child. So he murmured in the ears of Mahabali, be careful. So when Vamana came, the King Bali asked, what do you want? What can I give you? Then he said, I want 3 feet of land. Okay, that's all he asked for. And Shukracharya didn't like the request. So he told Bali, just refuse. Just refuse. You're going to lose everything. This guy is going to do something to you. But Bali said, I have already given my word. No, this is God himself has come. And he's tricky. At that point, apparently Mahabali had told, if the Lord is taking alms from me, what other great boon do I need? I will give him whatever he asks. And so the story is that he was ready to be, pour water and, give the promise so that the gift becomes official, so that Vamana can exercise the gift. And at that time, Shukracharya is supposed to have gone and plugged the hole of through the spout through which the water was being poured. And Vamana is supposed to have taken a small toothpick type of pick and punched the hole. And that's how they say Shukracharya lost one eye. Because Swami says when the divine vision is one eye, worldly vision is one eye. When your divine vision, you're blind, you become half blind. That's the story of Shukracharya. Even though he was very well learned in all Shastras and the Guru of Asuras, he was worldly minded and he was not interested, whereas Bali was open to it. So Bali said, okay, I have given you, you can take it. So that's when Vamana basically he grew in size, and he's supposed to have measured the earth with 1 foot, the sky and the heavens with the second foot, and he asked Bali, where's the third one? And then Bali said, the only thing I have is myself. You can put it on my head. And that's when Vamana put his foot on his head and pushed him down to the netherworld. And that was the end of Mahabali. Basically, he completely gave up. That was the only thing which he had, because the thing is, he's supposed to have had some ego left in him. And that is what the Lord Narayana put out. Even though he was a great devotee, so he put out. But the thing is, even though he had some ego, he was willing to sacrifice that also, along with that his body and everything. And that kind of readiness, was not seen in any other examples. And I think Lord created Lord Mahabali so that he can depict to the world what exactly is total surrender, where you are willing to give up everything, including your existence, when the Lord asks, when the Lord demands, gladly. We all are worried, when will we die? You should not die and things like that. Whereas he didn't have any worry or fear, because for the Lord he was willing to do anything. And for the word which he gave, he was willing to stand by. So there were many others, but the level of sacrifice which Mahabali is supposed to have demonstrated, because even the thing which he was doing, the yajna, will be lost, which is to become the Lord of the universe. He was not even worried about that. That desire also was given up. So that kind of surrendering every single thing, no one has demonstrated the way Mahabali has done. So that is the story of Mahabali. I shortened the word. If anyone else has something to say, please go ahead and say.
Sai Ram, I have a question here. Before coming to this Atma Nivedanam, in Maitri, you were explaining that the surrender is an important part. As a friend, Arjuna surrendered to Krishna. But in the previous worships, like this Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, they simply liberated. And then why in here, in the friendship, we need a surrender after that? That Swami, why did that he's insisting on a surrender after this friendship came in? He took Arjuna as his good friend. And then why this surrender comes in after that for liberation?
I will. Anyone else would like to comment, please? Please go ahead.
So actually,
Sorry. Okay, go
I
ahead.
had some experience about that actually. So, in fact, Swami has mentioned in many of the discourses the word surrender. People mistake it to be a falling at the feet and accepting everything kind of thing. So it's like a servant. It's not servant. So Swami said, when you say Saranagati, basically the agreement to accept whether whatever God gives is the best for us. Some people sometimes they think, okay, when we say we are surrendering to Swami, and later, when something's happened in our life, we tend to say, oh, why did God do that to me? The question comes. So that's where we lose the complete surrender. So there we are trying to evaluate what God has given to us. So, but at that point of time, we have to remind ourselves that what God has done to us is only good for us and it cannot be bad for us. When we accept that one as that's a permanent Saranagati. And Swami also, after this Bali, and Swami said Gopikas also were similarly, they had surrendered to Krishna. And Swami once actually had a drawing of Krishna, and Swami said, after looking at the drawing and commenting on it, and he said, this Krishna had 60,000 wives. And then I don't know, I was just a small kid, I was a 16-year-old kid that time. So I was just looking at Swami, and Swami said, hey, it's not like that, man. Swami, all these Gopikas have surrendered to Krishna and they were ready to accept whatever Krishna says is the final. And that's a story where once Krishna acted as if he had a headache and he wanted the dust of his devotees, whereas Narada or the other wives, basically, they were scared to give the dust on the Krishnas because they said that would be a big sin. We don't want our dust to get on Krishna's head. But whereas Gopikas, basically, they didn't worry what will happen to them, whether they are sinning or not, it doesn't matter. If Krishna says he wants the dust from a devotee, if the dust from our feet can cure Krishna's headache, let it take. So that's the kind of thing. They didn't worry about what will happen to them. They wanted only Krishna to be happy. So Swami said that is the surrender that the Gopikas had. So Swami gives examples of Gopikas also as an example of devotees who are reached that stage. Thank you, sir.
Sairam, anyone else would like to say something, please?
Yes, Sairam, brother. Surrender means whatever we are doing, everything, the end of the day, we have to surrender, including our Atma. This way, we can achieve the salvation because we are not the doer. God is the doer. He is the one doing everything. He is using as an instrument. So when we don't surrender, we get into the ego. So ego will kill everything. So you have to fully surrender, including action, even your Atma. That's called fully surrender to the God. Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you very much, brother. Sairam,
Sairant,
yes.
this is Bhavani. Mahabali could have called out the Lord saying, basically call him a cheat because it's like, I asked you for $10 and you said,
Sister, we
what?
lost you.
Hello?
Please repeat what you're saying, please.
Yes. So, sorry.
After the $10.
I said, yes, I asked you for $10 and you said, of course. And you said, just take it out of your wallet. And instead I take away your whole wallet. Right? So when he said, give me 3 feet, I think the agreement was 3, tiny feet. And then he grew. And the second thing is when Vamana kept his foot on, first was earth, Mahabali is part of earth too. We are all part of earth, right? But his ego was so huge, or his arrogance or whatever, he considered himself apart from earth, isn't it? So I think he'd rather win, or he didn't want to lose. He'd rather die than lose because his arrogance. I think we can all relate to that. Sometimes we need to control or check our pride and arrogance and ego, because if not, that can really get out of hand. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
Sairam, when I look at this as the 9 ways of devotion. We have looked at different ways of reaching the God. We have alternative options, 9 different ways of reaching God. If it would take it equally to the God, we have so many different options, relatively easy. Achanam, Kirtanam, Namasmaranam, and the Maitri, and there are so many different ways of reaching. If it equally, the same to reach the God, why we have to go to the very difficult, some of these options are very difficult. So if it is a different stage to reach the goal, or if it equally, the equal path to reach the goal. That is my little question on this one. When we go step by step, Kirtanam, Vandanam, Padasilvanam, Maitri, Atma Nivedanam. I thought if it equally, it will take us to reach the goal, then why we have to try to the difficult part? Because the Swami itself, he has told us, we haven't tried anything new, but the whatever the ancient ways, all the avatars, we would be coming to repair the ancient path to reach the God. My little question in here, rather than taking it in an easy path, say for an example, we have the local ways, highways, we can walk, we can take cycling, and why we should be taking it, the difficult ways to reach the goal. Maybe individual difficulty, maybe in this, some may not comfortable in going in the highway, some may be enjoying the walking or cycling, but this one, or the some options are really difficult, maybe for some people. So that's my little question on this one. Maybe if someone can explain, or if we can little exploration on this one, I will appreciate. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, sister. Anyone like to say something here, please?
Hello. Yes, this comes by experience, because we are not all of us are not at the same level of understanding each other or God or anything. So these might be different ways we can reach God little by little. First take baby steps, and then as we mature. So everything comes by experience, I believe. As sister said, we have to have complete faith, and once we have complete faith, then we are very open, as the other sister said. And then we surrender. So everything is gradual. So I believe everything comes by experience. We can't reach everything, the peak, in one shot. These are my a few thoughts on that. Saira.
Thank you very much, sister. Anyone else would like to say something, please?
Sairam, Brother Arul's question is not answered yet. No, that is it?
Yes,
is it a step?
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
brother.
Okay. So you will answer it. Okay. And also,
if no one else is answering, I will try.
Yeah, you should answer it. And actually, in the Atma Nivedanam, though it is a story or history, and Mahabali is told as an example, but in other sense, Atma Nivedanam means our little self is given up and become part of one with God. So anybody, in any path, the last stage will be that our little self is killed, and and we understand our true reality with the Guru's grace, and we become one with God. So it is the Atma Nivedanam in a different sense, or in a true sense. That's what I wanted to tell you. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Thank you very much, brother.
Sairam, brother. Out of
Yes.
9 devotion, all of the 8 devotion, the path of devotion will take you to God. However, there's a chance of we get the birth back. This is my thinking, right? But under self-realization only, you will merge with the God. Surrender. I don't know I'm correct or not. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Sairam.
you very much.
Sai Ram, I have an extension of the question. What was the purpose of classification into 9 types, or how many types? If the ultimate goal is still realization of God and sort of surrender to God. And sometimes, so I'll give you my own experience. Can you hear me?
Yes, sister, please go ahead.
So when I was younger, my mother used to say, before you eat, always offer to God. She taught a simple one, said, Sri Krishnarpanam. Means like, I'm offering this food to God. If you didn't have time to say the whole Brahmarpanam, Brahmavir, the whole thing. On special days, I would love, because my mother would cook for God. She would cook some prasadam, naivedyam, and I continue the same. And here my kids in Canada say, God will not eat anyway. Why do you bother cooking for God? And you don't let us eat. It's tasting, it looks so good, it smells so good, but we have to wait till God eats, but he doesn't even bother eating. So I say, no, it's naivedyam, it's prasadam, I'm cooking for God, and after God blesses it, we will eat. However, there is a story in Ramayana. Her name is Shabari. Sabari, what she did, she was a lady in the forest when Ramayana was on his Aranyavasam, Sri Rama, and he's very tired. He reaches this particular forest, I forget the name, and Sabari, she collects local berries that have fallen from the tree, and she ties them in the edge of her sari, brings them. These berries could be sweet, but they could also be sour. So she actually tasted each berry and gave the sweet ones to Lord Rama. So there is a story in that, like, how can you offer something that you have already bitten into or tasted, and then you're offering to God? But that was her ultimate form of devotion, where she wanted to offer the sweet ones, because there was no other way of knowing. She actually bit into them, and Sri Rama accepted it without any hesitation. Of course, my mother would tell me, you're not at the level of sabri, so don't worry, you still have to offer to God before you taste any food. But my extension of the question was, why is there even a classification system? How do you put this kind of devotion of sabri into what category? Is there a need to categorize? Is there a need to think, oh, I'm doing smaranam now, I'm doing this, when it's all actually blended together for the ultimate goal? Sairam.
Sairam, sister. Does anyone want to add something or say something? If not, then I will make a small attempt. I think I will start where Sister Vasudha left off, which is sabari. Ironically, I don't know whether you know or not, so after Sabari offered those bitten fruits to Sri Rama, which he lovingly accepted. I think your children also sort of belong to the Sabari category, because they want to eat the prasadam before you offer. But that apart, Sabari asked Sri Rama, because Rama, please explain to me what is devotion. So if you read Ramakatha Rasavayini, you will encounter this. Or if you read Ramayana. So Shabari is asking Lord Rama to teach her devotion. After, as you said, she herself practiced it. And Rama goes on to explain these 9 types. Rama tells there are 9 ways of devotion, and he goes and lists these and explains that to her. And apparently Shabari listened to it, and she was going into ecstasy, and she died. That was the last breath which she took. After having Rama's darshan, after listening from him what is devotion and what are different 9 types of devotion, she passed away. The thing is, because our journey in this life goes on and on until our final merger with the Lord. So the thing is, the Lord explains these different categories because each of these categories actually purifies one aspect of our existence. As Krishna says, you can pray to me, offer me the flower, fruit, leaf, or water, patram, pushpam, palam, toyam, which is you can offer your body, you can offer your heart, you can offer your mind, you can offer, so everything which we can offer, or you offer your tears. Everything can be offered because that's the only way we purify ourselves for that final, ultimate merger and union with God. So these are different aspects because that's the only way. Just the way when we learn to drive a car, first you learn to use the steering, then what the brake is, until one day you are able to use them all together. So these are baby steps for all of us. And so they are saying, try this, try that. So that way we slowly and slowly, because only through categorization we will know how to work on it. Otherwise we will try everything and fail in everything. So it's always better for us to take one and perfect it and then go on to another, which is the way any education process works. So it is not categorization of devotees. It is giving simple steps for devotees can take baby steps towards the final goal. So that is why these paths are defined. I don't think it's a hierarchy, but there are prerequisites in terms of, some subjects, if you want to take, they will say, no, you have to do this course first. It's that kind of thing. So there are sometimes prerequisites, but all of them give you some level of progress in the path of devotion. And then I will come to this Brother Arun's question, which is about if that is also liberation, what is this liberation? The thing is, liberation is a very general term because it's in English. We have our own imagination of what it is. But in the Lord's idea of mukti, which is what he calls mohakshayam. See, if we have one type of moha, which is basically some sort of delusion, and that when you liberated from that delusion, it's called mukti. And if you know, there are 4 types of muktis which are generally mentioned. Again, categorization, I guess. Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, Sayujya. All of them are considered liberations. Salokya means you are born in the same world as the Lord. Samipya means you are born closer to the Lord. Sarupa means you almost look like the Lord. Sayujya is complete merger. There's no separate existence. In the case of Mahabali, he was pushed to the netherworld and he lived there separately from the Lord. But it was also a kind of liberation because he learned something that he is not the body and he was willing to offer it. So that takes you over. It's like, they give you certificate at every level class. That means you have not completed your studies. If you're literate, grade 1 also you get a certificate. Grade 2 also you get a certificate. So that type of, so everything is part of education process. It's part of gradual growth in liberation until the final merger where there's no separate existence. Each of them is considered good because you are in the path of progress. So that is why all these are available for us. And I think each one of us can decide which course we want to take first. Okay, and if we master that course, then we can try the second course, even if it's a difficult subject. Like everyone complains, math is bad, I don't want to study it, but you have to study it, no choice. Okay, if you want to really get your final degree, you have to. But we can choose what we want to do. It gives a very structured approach for devotees to take to the path of spirituality. Take one, master it, and come to some level. Maybe it will take one entire lifetime, or maybe many lifetimes even to master one. It doesn't really matter. I think the most important thing is we have to start somewhere and work on it. And the sooner we make progress, the sooner we'll go for the final goal. Many people say somebody is liberated, somebody is liberated. Who knows, whether they are liberated fully or not? Because we are so far down, and people around us are telling that fellow has gone up, but they themselves have not gone and seen. As Swami says, if somebody has climbed up, you also have to climb up the ladder to see whether that person has really climbed up. Until then, we really don't know. But Swami has given us this, and he has educated us. So these are options available as the core curriculum and options. So these are options available which we can take up. If you really want to know, Swami has called all these 9 types devotion as ordinary devotion. He calls it Samanya devotion, and that's also not. There are other categories of devotion which Swami has not even mentioned in these 9 types. So let us not be daunted by what's out there. We can choose one, and I think we can make the best of that, and Swami will help us. And there are good examples for us to follow. We can pick, just the way we pick subjects in our degree course or masters. That's my understanding. That may not be complete. That is, each of us, whatever we think is actually good enough for us, I guess. But we can share. With those thoughts, I will open and invite others to comment on whatever you have heard or questions. I hope there were questions. I thought I addressed Sister Andy's questions, Brother Arul's questions, Sister Bhavani's questions. I don't know whether there's any more. Others, if you have anything to suggest or comment, please go ahead.
Sairam, I have difficulty picturizing God in everybody or everything. When I think of devotion, I find it easier if I have a idol, an image of God. And in Hinduism, we do not have any dearth. We have many gods and goddesses, and our prayer corner is filled with a lot of photos and everything. Picturizing my, Mata Pita, Bandhu Sakha, they say, is all Bhagavan. My mother, father is easier, but when my child is being mischievous, I find it very hard to picturize God in that. Even though we have named our children after gods, and actually our 2 boys are named Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. I grew up in Bengal. My experience with Mother Teresa, when I was volunteering, I was really surprised to see that she was able to see Christ in each of these human beings. I went to volunteer in an orphanage, and I thought I will do all the nice jobs. There will be somebody cooking, cleaning, that of course I won't be the one doing. But when I went there, I was surprised to see volunteers actually sweeping, doing the dishes. There is no housekeeping at all. It's all these volunteers, and many of them had come from countries abroad. And while Mother Teresa was giving me a tour, she heard somebody coughing, and she immediately says, "Oh, Gautam is coughing. I must remember to tell the pediatrician that his cough is getting worse." I was stunned that in 50 or 100 kids there, everybody screaming, playing, running around, she heard Gautam's cough and remembered it. As well, what I was surprised was in her orphanage, she did not name all the children, she did not give them Catholic names. She named them Muhammad, she named them Gautam, whatever the name. These were children found abandoned on the streets of Kolkata. I told her, I'm very impressed that you didn't give them Catholic names. I thought they would all be Peter, Matthew, so on. And she said, no, I want these children to grow up knowing that amongst us there will be a Muhammad, amongst us there will be a Gautam or whatever, because each of them is an incarnation of God. When she was cleaning the diaper, changing the diaper of a little baby, she saw God in that. That was amazing, and to this day I have not been able to achieve that or go anywhere close to it. I think that is real devotion, when you see God not just as God per se, but you start seeing God as everybody is an extension of God. Even if they are opposing your views, they are not seeing your viewpoint, you still consider them as God. Sorry, that's just a little experience I wanted to share. Sairam.
Thank you very much, sister. Would like anyone else to comment or say something, please?
Sairam, I just have a question about the term Atmanivedanam. Why is it called Atmanivedanam? Because I understand you can surrender your life, your body, and how all of those things, but how can you surrender your Atma? Because I thought your Atma is God.
Okay, so anyone else would like to take a crack at this question, please? How do we surrender Atma?
Yeah, Atma is nothing, has no shape, no body, no gender, it's a silent observer. It's the consciousness which comes into the play. Atma carries on. It never dies, never born, never everything. It's just an observer. Whatever your karmas are there, it's all being registered. Atma just goes on to keep your account. That's how I understand Atma. It's the consciousness which you have to be aware of. And that's where you come into it and you surrender to this. You have to be conscious of what to do, and that's what leads to good karmas. So I don't consider Atma, you surrender everything, but Atma, you don't have to surrender. Atma is independent. Atma is nothing but just on its own. And it carries on. We change the body, but Atma is always around. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong.
Okay, sister. Sairam, anyone else would like to comment or say?
Zaira, I used to the thing that it is a little self, Jivatma, so to say, Jivatma. So our little self is given up and become the Paramatma, no? That's what I used to believe, but I am not sure if I'm correct or not. Thank you, Zaira.
Thank you very much.
Sairam, I think the sister's question is, instead of surrender of ego or something else, why we say surrender of the self is just now the other sister, she explained that it's Atma, it's an independent, it never dies or anything, then why we have to say surrender of the self rather than saying something else to be surrender of the ego or surrender of something else, why we say surrender of the self, that's also it's a very valid question, the in this study circle. I really appreciate Sister Kalyani's question. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, sister. Anyone else would like to comment, please?
Sairam, the qualities of the soul, right? The Gita says weapons can't cut it, fire can't burn it, water can't wet it, wind cannot dry it. A quick short story, please. Once we in our center we brought a homeless person home and gave them a bath. They had a broken arm, so they needed help with the bath. So first, I was part of that group and I was hesitant. They were smelly, dirty, scary. But at that moment, I remembered this quote, the quality of the soul. And I thought, okay, nothing can make me dirty, my soul. And with that, I found strength to do what we needed to do. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you very much. I think Brother Kumar Dipanshu.
Yes, brother. Saira.
Yes, Sairam.
So, just about the surrendering of self. So, surrender would only be existent till the time self is there. So, when you talk about the word self, so self encompasses everything that is except your consciousness or except your Atma, that is, in fact, is Brahma. So, till the time you don't give up everything that is self, and that includes everything like ego or thoughts or like anything that overall defines your existence. Once you give up everything, then you become one with the God. then there is no concept of surrender exists. So surrender is only till the time there is concept of self.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Anyone else would like to say something, please? If no one, maybe I will just some concluding remarks on this Atma Nivedanam. Even ego and everything, there are two sides to our existence. There are 24 principles in Gita which is mentioned in Sankhya Yoga, so which includes mind body complex. The mind complex includes manas, buddhi, chittam, and ahankaram. Ahankaram is also part of that. All these are things which are not the Atman. That is the mind's conception of itself is ahankara. So all these are given up, which is I think all of us understand. Okay, that's all given up. Then the Atma is supposed to remain. The Atma which is supposed to remain is, as Brother Sivada said, the Jivatma. It's spark of the big Atma. So it is similar to a drop in the ocean, just offering itself back into the ocean. It just gets splashed up, out it comes, and then the drop goes into the ocean. So that merge. So the Nivedanam is surrender is not the right word. I would say Nivedanam is to offer. It offers itself so that it becomes one with the Lord. So the thing is that choice, I am willing to become one with you, is that the Atma Nivedanam. That's the final stage, which is the final impediment if for the Jivatma, which exists separate from the Parabrahman or God. That's the only step. And so a person who is willing to go even there, when you know that you have left everything, as Brother Kumar Dipanshu said, all, ahamkara, everything, all your possessions, everything is gone. Now you are left alone. And you say, okay, I just want to be one with the Lord. That type of stage is knowing that I am the Atman. And that is what actually Bali offered. Because as somebody said, the earth is already measured. Okay, when the earth is measured and the heaven is measured, these are all Prakriti, which is made up of these 5 elements. So the only thing which Bali was left with at that point was only the Atman. The earth is taken. Bali is not the body. Bali had the body also as a vesture, which was part of the 5 elements. That is the earth element. And the sky. So that is also taken. All the 5 elements are gone. So the only thing at that point Bali was left with was that separate existence. His ego was also gone by then, okay? Because once the earth is taken, everything is gone. So only the Atman was left. And when he asked, what do I have? Then Bali says, I don't have anything except my Atman. Because you have already taken everything else of mine. So that was the only thing he had left to offer. That is why it's called Atma Nivedana. Because the Lord says, that small drop of myself, which is existing, is now offering itself to me, I will take it. So that is the story of Bali. And that is why it's called Atma Nivedana. Because the first 2 steps took away all his body, mind, everything is gone. Okay, so that is why it's called Atma Nivedana. That's my understanding. I think there are a couple of places where Swami has sort of explained this. So with those thoughts, we will close today's study circle. It's time up. And look forward to next week. If you have any questions, you can send them by email or we can discuss them tomorrow. Sai Ram to all of you. We will close with Samasta Loka and Shanti Shanti. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Thank you.
Yeah, Sai Ram. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.